Before I get started with the video, I just want to apologise because this isn't going to be scripted and I don't really have the time to make a script, so this is just going to be a bit more as it flows, I would say. How this video will be done is almost a follow-up to my previous one, so I'm just going to go over the actual support ticket because I feel that's going to be the easiest way to explore everything that's going on, and I just want to give you an update as to what has been said since the last time we saw it. As you can see here, of course, the introduction just saying, look, this is the second time I've done an RMA and it hasn't been resolved. So here we have the initial response from the data. It's normal. Yeah, this is kind of the default and go-to statement that they give you is it's normal. So, okay, usual thing. I'm just saying, look, it's not normal. I mean, I've got proof that it was running higher, and of course it's just like my temperatures are higher, system as well from one, it's not performing as well. So of course they come back with the fan specification is 6,000 RPM. This is where we got the specification from, and as you can see, that is 15 months. This is 15 months after this problem started. They finally state the specification, and this is every other support agent has said that the fan speeds are normal when they're different. So of course I've been told that the 7,000 and 6,500 RPM split, that was supposedly normal as well. And you also have the first RMA, which also said that it was normal and it was working to the specification. So there's not really much to add to that bit. And of course I just say, look, it's been 21 months since I got this laptop, 15 since the issue started, and it's taken 15 months for someone to actually say what the specification is, so I'm a bit pissed off. He repeats it and says go back to the original EC. Of course, again, another problem. This is the other issue we are having with I'm having with MSI. In fact, this is something that they have done continuously throughout the entire 20 odd months by this point. So every single support ticket, they make these claims. They either say something is normal or it's not possible to do certain things. At the end of the day, what they're trying to do is they're trying to end the ticket as soon as possible. And it's more than evident here, the previous support agent wanted to get rid of me and wanted me to actually start an RMA because of course it's then not their issue, which is annoying. Again, they're wasting my time. Of course, we have all the time they've wasted. So I've done 2 RMAs, about 3 weeks apiece, and of course all this back and forth between me and the support agents. I mean, and the other one is the decrease from our 7,200 to 6,000 was done incrementally over the course of multiple EC updates and the RMAs. So again, just reiterating the same things here. Okay, again, it's normal. They're missing my point. It's no longer performing as well as it did at launch, and I cannot return it because it's outside the window. On top, if we want to add on to this, is every single review for this laptop, well, it came out late November 2015. You have all these reviews, everyone who's buying it. The majority of people buying this laptop will buy it within the first, say, 3 months. After that, people tend to not buy laptops, they buy newer stuff. So what we have is this problem started 6 months after I bought it. I bought it 2 months into it. So what we have is they're allowing reviewers to spread misinformation, to say that this laptop performs really well, and then after a couple of months, they ever so slyly start to decrease the fan speeds over time. So it's really suspicious and it's just unacceptable. And of course, they don't actually tell you why. This has been a 15-month issue. It's been every single support agent has just been, oh, it's fine. They've never actually gone into the details as to why. And again, look, copy and paste. This is all they do. Okay, so yeah, they still haven't answered my question. So it's unacceptable. If they're going to copy and paste, I'm going to copy and paste and maybe put an extra line in, which is pretty much exactly what they did. Let's re-clarify. Not exactly. This is not after a single EC update. This is after multiple EC updates and multiple RMAs. So they are kind of trying to trim the story down a bit, which is a bit annoying. Again, I would say a year, but in fact it's more along the lines of 15 months. It's much more than just a year. So you see that document here, it covers, right, when I paid for it, the specification. So 4,800 RPM standard, 7,200 with cool boost, and this is both fans. And of course we cover through their ticketing system, you have to upload your system information, which contains both the BIOS and EC version, so we can keep track of that. Of course we can't keep track of the fan speed except through the points on which I mentioned them. So 4,800, 7,200, I know as a definite because you buy the notebook, you see the fans running like that, and you're like, wow, what's making this system like be all cool? And it's like, oh, the fans are running at these speeds. These are the temperatures we're getting. It's cool, but you don't write it down. Except when you do forum logs. So this one here is because I went on the forum, and before we had the 4,800, 7,200, and sometime between these two dates, they released the EC update that bugged everything up. Well, it started this decrease, and as you can see, it's a very small decrease, like 600 RPM, around about 600 RPM on both of the fan. It's minuscule. Another EC, which of course I tested the day before Christmas, and it further reduced cooler boost speeds by again 500 to 600 RPM on both fans. And of course it's this entire thing. So okay, they changed the thing. We get BIOS and EC combination. Not a BIOS and EC we've tested before, but we can see the general flow of time, the speeds, and of course there's an extra one at the bottom here because with the work with Michael, which we contacted through email, we reverted and they gave us a new one which allowed us to increase the speed a little bit, like 200 RPM on, I think that's 200 RPM on fan 2, such a GPU fan. It's minuscule. We're still talking 7,200 RPM. We're still 1,200 RPM off, and we still have the standard fan speed which is off as well. So this is the part which you haven't seen yet, because this was done, I put the video up in a few days later. I think it was the day I was actually uploading 21-month story with MSI that this reply came in. So I was tempted to put on like an extra piece, but it was already really well, it was a well laid out story. I didn't want to like bolt on some extra stuff. So straight away, the original fan speed status of 7,200, 6,500. Come on, people. That's not the original. The original is at the very top of the document, and he completely missed it. But whatever. Here, okay, so supposedly there's a difference in the motherboard and fan module, which, okay, I'm fine with. The second fan can reach before the change. It has an intelligent fan design. If the fan is dusty, it will speed up. And yes, the fan speeds are reliant on the temperatures. Even if both of them are at 90 degrees, they do not exceed the limits imposed. So it's basically saying like the limits that you've set in place, the fans just hit that limit and that's it. They're not going to go higher. 4,800 without cooler boost or 7,200 or whatever they get limited to. Even blocking the vents, like simulating what happens if you get dust hindering the cooling capabilities of the heat sinks. Temperatures hit 90 degrees in thermal or more than before. I've yet to see the fans go above the limit. Basically, what I'm trying to say is once the fans hit their limit, that's it. This entire mentality that it's an intelligent design is a load of rubbish. I mean, the first time I get my notebook, 4,800, 7,200. And then that limit has been lowered. The fans are not intelligent in that regard. If there's something blocking the fan speed, it's like, well, they ramp up because the temperatures are higher. It's not intelligent design. It's just, that's how pretty much everyone else has done it. So I confirm with the engineer that early EC code will let the thing go faster. Basically, there are different fan modules or different hardware controllers. And these controllers, of course, tell the fans how fast they should be running at. Basically, what he's saying is that these fan modules, the code that they use wasn't exactly unified. So despite the fact it should be, 6,000 RPM, certain modules would be running at higher. So that's probably why. And here's the excuse they give me again. The new EC code slightly lowers cooler boost fan speed in the case of the same heat dissipation. It's a load of bullshit. I'm just going to come out and say it. It's a load of bullshit. You're lowering the speed that the fan is spinning at. That means less airflow, means less heat dissipation. Because I can tell you for a fact that the difference between 4,800 and 6,000, an increase of 1,200 RPM, you see a certain amount of temperature decrease. So there's a certain amount of heat dissipation going on. The difference between 6,000 RPM and 7,200 RPM is equal. Meaning that if we actually look at this is kind of what we get. So basically, when it comes to fans, is you increase the speed of your fan, in this case RX term, you inherently increase the amount of heat dissipation in Y. At a certain point, you get to the point of what's called diminishing returns. Basically, you can't, no matter how much airflow you push over your heat sinks, you just cannot pull that much heat off because there's just not enough surface area to allow that heat. What I'm trying to get at is between, say, our, say, 4,800 here and, say, 7,200. We're not really in diminishing returns. Well, we are, but it's not that much. There is still a clear difference between going 4,800, 6,000, 7,200. There's a clear, distinct increase in the amount of heat that we're getting rid of. The temperatures will lower. The only time where this particular case, where here, same heat dissipation, is if we were in this region. So the region where you could be increasing your fan speed by a lot and you're not actually doing anything really. It's almost no change. We're not in that region. We're still in this lower region. So that extra 1,200 RPM is actually usable. It's a joke. It's clear. If you do plot if you plot, say, temperature against the fan speed, I mean, there will be a decrease. It will hit a limit at some point. It will probably be more along with this. So of course you increase fan speed, temperatures come down, but there'll be a limit. That still applies. But we're not over here. We're not in the region where we're not making much difference. We're still in this region. So even 1,200 extra RPM on the fans is making a huge difference. Different in fan speeds. Oh yeah. Here's the thing. So supposedly the working temperature is what's important, and they're saying it's fine. Well, no, it isn't, because the fact at that working temperature, the system thermal throttles. If we're dealing with, say, slower fans, there's more heat build up. Yes, the system will say, I'm not going to go much higher, or in fact, I'm not going to go higher than this maximum temperature. But the system knows, say, hey, the fans aren't keeping up. I have to throttle down. And what happens? Well, it's going to get stuck there. What happens is you get one of two things. Either the system thermal throttles, or you get, in the case of your CPU speed or GPU speed, actually just drops. So instead of running at your 2.6 gigahertz, it's going to be running at 1.8 gigahertz, or in fact 800 megahertz in my case. The temperature is fine, but the thermal throttling is not. Dissipating heat, so yeah, it will always produce the heat, so it always is not accumulating in timely. Yeah, it's not accumulating, but it's not getting rid of it fast enough, so the system is throttling back. They've reduced it, and the system is 130 watts. That cooling system can handle 130 watts of heat dissipation, because of course the CPU is about 45 watts, the GPU is about 65 watts, give or take a little bit. That's how much this cooling system can handle, and it has handled it. However, the decrease in the fan speed means it can't handle 130 watts anymore. It's now being limited to 100 watts or less, and of course, because the cooling system can't get rid of this heat, everything else is going to have to be like, well, I'm going to have to slow down a bit because we can't get rid of this heat. So again, the fan speed is difficult to restore back to the model differences. Even within the factory, it's difficult to do this. Okay, that is understandable. Pay attention to the entire computer. Well, look, I've provided them with videos showing that the system is running hotter, it's thermal throttling, and it's performing much worse. So again, yeah, look, I've already stated they're running at Tmax, and they thermal throttle due to this. And I've already said that, look, even if we boost up the fan speeds, we can only account for so much of what we've lost. Yeah, look, please ask the service center to help you monitor the CPU and GPU usage. Oh, yeah. Oh, look. A minus 118, that's not too bad, that isn't. Minus 27, that's pretty good. Basically, what they're trying to say is I don't know how to monitor the CPU and GPU temperatures, but yeah, I do. In fact, what am I doing? Let me just minimize all of this crap. What we have here is I've taken off my offset. So this is stock voltage. This is what you get out of the box. I normally run at minus 145 because it kind of helps at times. But look, 30% CPU utilization, maybe 40% at most. Temperatures around 70 to 80 continuously. But what the heck is this? One active core. We have one active core. It's operating at 3.1 gigahertz. So a single active core should be running at 3.5 for this CPU. It's thermal throttling. It's dropping to about 2.6, which is fine. We get these spikes. What will happen if we increase CPU utilization? What happens if we play a game? If we play Minecraft? If we do anything like that? That's right. We get lots and lots and lots of spikes. And then we get the max core frequency, which you can see over here. That will come down to like here. And it will do all this crap, and we'll get all these nicely green lines. In fact, where it's green, we'll get this. We'll get like greeny crap up here. Generally speaking, it's not usable. So again, why did the RMA sensor say it was working to specification when it wasn't by their definition? Why was this not communicated? Port agents and the changelog did not mention this. And of course, why did it take 15 months? Again, a decrease in the fans. Again, if we're working in the region of diminishing returns, I can understand this bit, but we're not. We're working in just your normal like linear response area. So lowering the fan speed does not increase the performance. And here, stable status. What do you mean by stable status? I don't know. Again, according to this, they're waffling on about things. Oh yeah, normally when your laptop's running under heavy load, it won't do that. Oh, haha. Yeah, otherwise look at my video. So do not try to change the subject. Again, same questions, they still haven't answered them. Each version, they reduce the fan performance, blah, 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 blah. Look, they have always fluctuated by 50 to 100 RPM. Even now, if I open this up, they're doing the same thing. So that's 3840. It's gone up by a couple of hundred because, of course, the temperature's gone up. But it goes up and down. When you get up to, say, 4,800, it's not 4,800. It's between about 4,750 to 4,850. It fluctuates a bit by 50 to 100 RPM. I'm using a synthetic workload, blah, 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 but look, even basic games like Minecraft, it thermal throttles in Minecraft, as you can see by the first video I provided to them. I'm not going to pop it up because they're a bunch of idiots and they can't seem to get that. Look, we didn't change the subject to avoid the question. Well, why don't you answer the questions first of all and not try to change the subject? Because that's the kind of idea when you get that. Supposedly, it was working to specification. Well, it clearly wasn't. So there's this entire thing they said, no, it wasn't. You're wrong in that regard. Again, they do the same thing. They ignore the question and instead try to come out with makes it better. It doesn't make it better, and you completely ignore the question. I've watched the video you were providing and confirmed that it is normal behavior. So when this is software that you have thermal throttle in Minecraft, would you like to test it? Well, oh. Fuck's sake. Oh yeah, this one's not edited. Basically, I basically say, look, you are changing the subject, so yeah, you're telling me to do other things. And look, you're saying I don't know how to monitor my CPU and GPU temperature, but the fact I've shown them screenshots from all these different tools says they're kind of full of crap. Again, I quote the previous response, so it wasn't working to specification, so they're getting wrong. Enhance, again, decreasing the fan speed. Before you start to lower, 8 months after release, they start to lower the fan speed a further year to RMAs and specifications. Basically, they're starting to bend the specification. They're saying that it is true and all this, that, and the other. And look, if you look at the first video, here it is again, it is thermal throttling. And of course, I tell them what tools I have running and the fact that I know how to use them. They're contradicting what other support agents have said, and it's mainly to bend to suit their needs. This is a big thing. They're trying to support a narrative here, and of course, I know they're wrong because, hey, I've been using computers for so long, I know what's going on here, and it's getting annoying to me. Yeah, tricks you're trying to use. I know what they're trying to do, they're just trying to trick me. Too many threads, it's not a very good argument. The laptop was released performing better than it was allowed for, and instead of resolving it, you wait until after all these reviews have come out, the majority of people have purchased the laptop, and then they begin to slowly decrease, not in one go, incrementally over multiple months. They don't tell the users, even when people contact their support, they don't say this is what's going on. Oh, and the other one, the changes started at in and around the same time that Nvidia announced the 10 series of GPUs. Oh, that's very coincidental. I'm just going to say that's just very important. It's a question mark. I'm saying, look, it's a bit suspicious, but I don't have proof. So, of course, I start saying, look, I might bring in some legal action. So, look, I think you misunderstood. Oh, my God. Yeah, would you like it to return back to maybe above? Well, that's the original. The original was 7,200. Yeah, they can force it, but they can't. They can't. And look, this will cause other problems. They're saying that this may cause other problems. They can give me new EC firmware that will let my fans go back to 7,200 RPM. Well, might be able to go back to 7,200 RPM, but this may cause other issues. Let's just remember that. And they're saying just reevaluate. Yeah, look, if you want to avoid confusion, don't contradict what other people have said. You need to get a story straight. It's simple enough. I want my performance to be exactly the same as when I bought. And of course, the changes shouldn't pose to damage the laptop or hinder the performance. There may be other problems if we do this. So I'm saying, look, I don't want that. This was the request I made when I set up the second RMA. So this is the other thing. When making this second RMA, well, when talking with support and they made the second RMA, I said to them, look, I want this problem sorted. This RMA, I don't want you to make this problem worse. They made it worse. So I made that very clear to them. And then here is what they do. So your first video, they make some documentation, basically after you have a BIOS update and you can see a core boost on, so it basically maybe get a beta version, again, it may be suddenly stopped. Do you have any idea? Are you sure you want to get the beta version? And they're saying, look, we can get you a beta version of the EC, but are you sure you want to do this? And I'm like, look, re-quoting myself, these solutions shouldn't pose a damage or further hinder the performance. Given how these fan modules work, again, let me refresh this. EC version 0.106. When did we previously use 0.106? It was here, after the first RMA. And I can tell you for a fact that the fan speeds were different. We had a different sort of maximum fan speed. We had different sort of fan speeds and all this, that, and the other. So I was just like, look, let's not do that. I don't trust this fan module. If you say it could fail, let's not do this. And I'm just like, look, you set the bar too high. Look, here's the thing. Look, sorry, but maybe we can provide the beta version. Please be aware it may suddenly stop at a thing. This is the thing they repeat. And I said to them, look, no, you've already said that this may cause problems. So I'm like, look, no. Let's not go by this route. If it's going to cause problems, let's just say this is not the solution for me. This is not a solution. Because again, it's going to be causing these fans to be, it's going to cause this cooling system to be working at above specification. Also, they seem to claim. So I'm like, look, hey, read my reply. They shouldn't pose to damage the laptop or further hinder my performance. So I just say, look, come up with a different solution. The solution will not damage the laptop. It will. Okay, so it won't damage the laptop. Let's just remind everyone here. The cooling system will be working at above specification. If something's working above specification, it can damage itself. And yet again, if we scroll right back down, it will potentially cause other problems. So I'm just, by this point, it's just like, look, no. And he's like, look, please just use your current BIOS. And you see, I was like, look, okay, look, if the fans stop working, even temporarily at a certain value, while the system is under load, it can lead to temperature spikes. Basically, however you want to look at this, it's not a good idea. I mean, it could potentially damage the system. I'm not saying it will, it's the potential to damage the system. But the other one, if the fans stop working for whatever reason, even temporarily, the system will thermal throttle. It's a given fact by this point. So the solutions here are not good, and I ask you, come up with an alternative solution that does not think. You're free to come up with whatever solution you want, but solutions that we both know will cause problems are not going to be acceptable. As I explained earlier, he's basically just going over the same thing. He said, yeah, different fan modules will work differently. So I'm just like, well, look, yeah, so we can basically said, yeah, again, that's a load of rubbish. Use the current BIOS and EC. So, still isn't performing as well as it did when I first got it. It's thermal throttling more, and it's because you've decreased the fan speed. You've done this across 15 months, multiple updates. You refuse to answer questions until the damage is done. That's the biggest one. So, of course, up to this point, they've just been like, look, it's normal. Let's just say it's normal, do an RMA. But as soon as they get this all done, as soon as they get it down to 6,000 RPM and they're like, no, this is the specification, they just say, no, we're not going to do anything more. We'll tell you everything you need to know, but we're not going to fix it. And of course, the other one, they're spreading misinformation. They're trying to misdirect me. They're trying to do all this other kind of crap. And it's just silly. And of course, even now, in the face of all this evidence, they're trying to misdirect me. They're trying to say, they're just trying to mess around. I've just said to them, look, I've warned you. Can you just stop this? Because to be honest, the excuses they're coming up with are not that good. So again, let's just look in here. So again, it's a complete load of rubbish. Look, you've decreased the fan speed. It's a notable increase in the temperatures to the point where the system will thermal throttle. You can see video wide. It's clear lowering the fan speed does not produce the same amount of heat dissipation. It's clear. I mean, we're not working in the region of diminishing returns, so it was only the case. I just explained it to him. Said, look, we're not working within the region of diminishing returns. You're full of crap. I know for a fact that the heat sinks, heat pipes, and the fan assemblies can facilitate linear response, so linear cooling capabilities up to 7,200 RPM. The only limiting factor here is the fan modules that are currently installed. Given I'm using an older BIOS, it's clear that the fan module I'm using is nowhere near as capable as the first two modules I have had. Forcing them to run much higher means it's not going to be a good idea. So I'm making it sort of almost clear to them. So here's your option. You need to fix this. The current fan module might work, but it might not. So one of the solutions, of course, why not find some new fan modules, ones that were similar to the ones I initially had, because hey, they should also have logs of that. They should also be able to trace back and say, well, look, this motherboard was made here. These are the fan modules that were used. Let's find some more of those fan modules and we'll just get this problem sorted. But I don't think they will. Or they can come up with their own new cooling system and different product. I don't know. At the end of the day, I am looking to get the same performance performance as when I did when I started. So the exact same performance I paid £900 for this notebook to perform a certain way. I did that based upon what people said about MSI as a company, what people said about the product, about how well the product line performed. Of course, you have an expectation. You say it has an i7-6700 HQ. You say it has a 960M, a 2 gig one. That sets your performance bar to say this is how well this system could perform. If you compare this with other notebooks with a similar kind of setup, so they might have not 2 fans but a single fan, and of course they perform worse, they thermal throttle more. That's not what I'm looking for, because of course one of the selling points of this laptop is it has 2 fans in there and it has cooler boost. It's meant to run well. So the fact that this is what everyone said it was going to do, this is what the reviews said that this thing was going to work, this is what my expectation was built up over the first 6 odd months of ownership, and then they turn around and do all this stuff behind the scenes and they don't tell anyone they're doing it. It really does seem like it is a method to try and force people to upgrade. Again, here, what do we have here? May 2016. When did we have these problems starting? Oh, look, the problems started literally after the launch of the 10 series. Let's go into the 10 series laptops. So let's remind you for a second, when would 10 series laptops be announced? 10 series laptops would be announced, well, they were announced, say, a couple of, August 16, 2016. So, NVIDIA has just released the desktop variants. At this time, of course, everyone's going to be like, okay, the consumer by this point should know that the notebook variant laptops should be coming out soon. But people like MSI, Asus, and whoever else will know in advance. These people will know when they're getting them. In fact, they probably already have reviews, they probably already have samples to build their laptops around in advance. So it's right to assume that at the same time that the 10 series itself is announced, MSI and whoever else will know when the laptop ones are coming. And it just so happens that the time range of when the 10 series is basically coming out, all this stuff starts to happen. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me if this started to happen a few months before. Because again, I didn't go to every single version. I went from 0.0102 to 108. I skipped, say, however many versions between there. It wouldn't surprise me if they started this beforehand. But the fact is, the only bit I have to go on, in the only update that pretty much, funny enough, if you go onto the forums, other people in and around the May sort of time-ish, they have mentioned that, hey, our fan speeds have been decreased, or this, that, and the other has happened in and around May time when the 10 series was sort of coming out. So I would dare say we have a pretty good sort of fallback. They're trying to basically say, look, everything is normal. Here's our really silly ass excuse, and all that. But it's funny how all of this starts to happen when the next generation of technology is coming out. So this really sets up what I'm trying to say. Is that this is the kind of crap I've been dealing with this entire time. Every single time I try to deal with MSI, this is normal, it's not an issue, oh, here, you don't know what you're doing, or you're doing it wrong, etc, etc. And yet, it's like, well, no, I'm following what you're telling me to do. This is something another support agent has said, this is something that you can literally Google. This is just what I've been putting up with this entire time. It's annoying as all hell, but hopefully I have actually contacted the seller. So this is Compute Advanced Limited. Hopefully they will take care of the rest, because again, my agreements, all the warranty and all that kind of stuff are technically through Compute Advanced Limited. So this is EU/UK law states it's the seller's job to deal with all these things. I've been trying to deal with MSI because I know for a fact it is 100% a problem with MSI, but if MSI are going to be like they are and just try and be like, look, nothing wrong, sod off sort of a thing, then I'm going to have to take it up with my seller and just like, look, I've got all this proof, I've got all these tickets that say all these different things, I've got all of these potential coincidences that may be something to look into. Hopefully they will take care of the rest. Hopefully it's not going to be any money out of their pocket or anything. Hopefully they will turn to MSI and say, look, no, you're in the wrong, you have to fix this. Well, I thank you for watching this really long video. Hopefully I have edited it down a bit, and I've hopefully edited out the sound of my fans running, because hey, I've got to put the fans up a bit higher than normal to actually keep this thing cool. Hopefully you have a nice day, and hopefully we get to the end of this journey very soon. Thank you.